Hello fellow mutants, welcome back to another video. In this video we're going to talk about the Clone Wars, because that's like the only movie I have yet to record my review on. Even though my last review that's going to come out is Revenge of the Sith. But I want to do the Clone Wars movie because it completes the set, you know? So, the Clone Wars takes place, I actually don't know how many years after Attack of the Clones. I want to say like 6 months to a year after Attack of the Clones. So, I just looked it up on my phone, and it says it is a fictional Star Wars galaxy during 3 years between the prequel films, episode Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. So, what, it takes place like 3 years after the events of Attack of the Clones, but 2 years before Revenge of the Sith. With it being 7 seasons, isn't that completely like unbelievable that much shit happened in like 2 years? But at the same time, I would like believe it a bit more if it was like 3 years before Revenge of the Sith, 2 years after Attack of the Clones, because I do acknowledge that in this timeline, in this time of war, the Jedi had to like kind of like withhold on the standard Jedi trials and promote some knights from Padawan to knights somewhat prematurely. I think Barriss Offee, if I remember correctly, was one of those XNOs. Because I think she was passed off as a Padawan in the Clone Wars show. So I don't know. But I know there were some Padawans that were promoted from Knight to Padawan to Knight prematurely. Anakin is one of those examples, I believe. Anyways, the movie. Someone stole Jabba the Hutt's son. Says up to the, and there's this like reward for whoever like controls, or whoever rescues Jabba the Hutt's son controls, gets to go like have safe passage through Hutt space. So the Republic and the Separatists are at odds, like racing against each other. And it's the Separatists who is technically behind the kidnapping of Zero the Hutt. I think it's no, Zero the Hutt is the uncle, I believe. Piece of knowledge. Stinky, as Ahsoka calls Jabba's son in this movie. So essentially, like, the movie takes place like we see Anakin, Obi-Wan leading some troopers in this world, trying to like destroy their hold on this specific world named Teth. While those two are doing this mission on Teth, Ahsoka comes in telling Obi-Wan and Anakin, yeah, you need to get back to the temple. Yoda needs you. Obi-Wan and Anakin say, yeah, we can do that. This battle still needs to be won. We are not over with our mission. And then essentially, it's been sprung over to Anakin that, yeah, this is your new Padawan. This little Taruka girl is her Padawan. And of course, Anakin doesn't like exactly like Ahsoka at first, because he calls like some people at the time called her being disrespectful, and I can kind of get that, because he called him Sky Guy besides his master, and of course Anakin calls her Snips, and that's been like a running joke for like the first few seasons of the Clone Wars series. So essentially, the Republic beats those Separatists on Teth. Anakin and Ahsoka has a little moment saying, you might not be, like Anakin telling Ahsoka, yeah, you wouldn't have made it as Obi-Wan's apprentice, but you might make it as mine. And so, essentially, it takes like a wild goose chase for the Republic to find Stinky the Hutt. they do essentially find Stinky the Hut. And when they mean they, I mean more specifically Anakin and Ahsoka, and they essentially fight Ventress. Who's they escape. Who's later on Obi-Wan fights Ventress, and she escapes. Then he escapes. Like go leaves the world where they found Stinky, and then essentially Anakin and Ahsoka crash lands on Tatooine to return Stinky to Jabba, and we see Anakin still carries like what had happened to his mother with him, and cause like we see some resentment towards Tatooine from Anakin, and so Anakin decides to take the backpack to Jabba's palace where Ahsoka takes Stinky. Excuse me, a different way, because they sense Dooku. So Anakin fights Dooku. Dooku slashes Anakin's backpack, thinking that he kills Stinky the Hut, and just has to be rocks. Ahsoka has to fight like these Grievous guard droid looking droids, defeats them, and as Anakin goes to Jabba's palace, saying, "Yeah, we got your hut lit. Where's my apprentice? I see he's not there." And then Jabba pretty much thinks that they killed Jabba's son, and little Anakin Darth Vader moment. Anakin uses his lightsaber to like put it by Jabba's throat, saying, "I did not kill your son. Where's my apprentice?" And Ahsoka comes in, and she has Zero, and they have a little reunion, and then they start. Jabba says, "Still kill them. I don't care. Kill these bitches. Kill these Jedi scum. Jedi bitches." And then Padme shows up in a holocron, and while Anakin and Ahsoka were busy doing that, Padme finds Jabba's uncle, who is in cahoots with the Separatists, more so Count Dooku, and we find out that Jabba's uncle is the perpetrator of stealing Jabba's son, and so Padme pretty much forces Jabba's uncle to confess, which he does, and now the Republic can go through Hutt space whenever they want, and poof, end the movie. That and essentially starts off the Clone Wars series, which I've heard the Clone Wars movie wasn't supposed to be a movie. It was supposed to be like the first 4 episodes of the entire series, but it took I think it was George Lucas, if I remember correctly, who said, from what I remember hearing, it was George Lucas who forced Dave Filoni to make a Clone Wars movie. So Dave Filoni just compiled the first 4 episodes into one movie. Again, if memory serves me right. And it wasn't exactly a bad movie. Like you can tell, like compared to like how like the technology that Lucasfilm uses for as you see in the Clone Wars as they progress in Rebels and the Bad Batch, that the Clone Wars movies CGI is kind of chunky, so it doesn't like really age. Like it does age somewhat well, but not as well as it could have been. I understand it was released in 2008, and it was my first Star Wars movie that I've seen in theaters. I think the story was pretty decent. I think it would have been been a bit better as a if they release that as a like a pilot, like have it like an hour is that's part one. Like combine the first two episodes as part one, combine the other two episodes as part two, and then kick off the series after that. I don't know, but I enjoy the movie. Um, I remember because this the Clone Wars movie was the first movie to have Ahsoka in general. Before 2008, Ahsoka was not a thing. Or, you know what I mean? Like, she was in production, but before the release, it wasn't a fan made character. She was pretty new in 2008. And, like I said, that's the first Star Wars movie I've seen in theaters. Like, when the Clone Wars came out, that was around the, like, I think I was going my first year into being a Star Wars fan. So I was like, yes! And I was 11, so I said, yes! I came back. I came actually into the Star Wars fandom. Good time on new Star Wars movies coming out. I'm excited. I think it was like my dad who took me to see Clone Wars. Loved it. I own the prequels, the Clone Wars movie, the original trilogy, Rogue One, and people gifted me the sequel trilogy. I did not buy the sequel trilogy. People, with the exception of the Force Awakens, people gifted me the sequel trilogy. Um, but yeah, just being able to go to the theaters, seeing Clone Wars in theaters, that was pretty cool. That honestly, I have to say that was pretty cool. Um, and I do remember the hate that Ahsoka got at first. She debatably was one of the most hated Star Wars characters. Debatably, when she was first introduced, I didn't. I dug her. Like I had a good feeling about her, and I understood that there was going to be like a series. Um, that Cartoon Network was going to have that Netflix eventually picked up for the sixth season. That Disney Plus picked up for the seventh season. Of course, I didn't know about the whole Netflix and Disney Plus thing. All I knew at the time was Cartoon Network is going to have this Star Wars show. And so I was excited. I kept being optimistic, saying, yeah, Ahsoka might be, as fans says, call it disrespectful, but you're going to have a show. She could easily change and grow on us. And guess what? Guess what? She changed, she matured, and she grew on us. Not only was she in the Clone Wars, she was in Star Wars Rebels, The Mandalorian, and she's going to get her new show. Now, regardless, if I think heavily that Ahsoka should have been killed in her duel with Vader in the season 2 finale of Clone Wars, which I think so. The fact that like we're in the state where we're gonna get a Ahsoka show, which I feel like should have like been set in between like defense of like Revenge of the Sith and Rebels. I'm actually looking forward to it. I'm actually looking forward to the Ahsoka show. Ahsoka is one of my favorite characters, and I made a video talking about why she is one of my she's debatably my favorite character, or one of my favorite characters. She's my favorite Clone Wars hero, and which I will try and link on the screen for you guys as this video ends. If not, I'll put it in the description. But yeah. I mean, I give this movie like if I was 6 out of 10. It's not the best Star Wars I've seen. It's not the worst. But this movie has some nostalgia to me. And it's mostly because this is my very first Star Wars movie that I've seen in theaters. Revenge of the Sith is the first Star Wars movie that I technically seen. All the way through from start to finish. But Clone Wars is the first Star Wars movie that I've seen in theaters. Then comes The Phantom Menace, when that was released in 3D in 2012. But yeah, it was great. Just just reviewing this was I know I kind of reviewed this kind of quick and fake. Just took me through like memory lane as I watched this in the theaters, and man, it was great. It was great. that was like definitely one of my favorite times being a Star Wars fan, to be honest. So it's a good movie. I think if you guys are going to watch the Clone Wars movie, then you guys will be doing yourselves a great favor and great service by watching the Clone Wars series, which I think is, for the most part, really good. There's a few episodes, or it's less episode arcs, where, like, I'm, like, about in the Clone Wars card and series, but for the most part, I loved it. I loved it. I gave the Clone Wars series a 9 out of 10. If you combine this movie, the Clone Wars cartoon, I will give it a 9.5. The Clone Wars was my childhood. I really liked it. But with that said, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section down below. Love you guys. Have a wonderful day. Be kind to one another. And may the force be with us all.